So the convo couch is getting rowdy and in trouble again as usual. And today we're going to talk about how they got tear gas in Portland and how the journalists have and the protesters have generally been treated. Let's talk about it. What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mika Says Sukasa. And of course, as always, I'm your humble host, Niko House. Today I have with me two very special guests, 2/3 of the convo couch. These two have been a thorn in my damn side over the last few months, okay? And I'm appreciative of every single thing that they've been doing. But Lord knows y'all give me anxiety, man. I know how I feel about police officers, especially police officers that are not wearing name badges, okay? But y'all have been holding it down, and y'all have been at protests in LA and most recently, Portland. 2/3 of the convo couch, Fiorella Isabel and Johnny Mayorga, aka Johnny Tsunami. How you guys doing?
Good. We're doing great. We're alive. We're good.
My lungs hurt.
Your lungs still hurt? Oh man, don't even get me
they're
started.
okay. I'm better now.
Better now. Good. I'm glad. Look, when I woke up y'all listen. Every single time I look down at Twitter, at like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, I'm like halfway and I see Fiorella, we just got tear gas. I'm like, oh God. Fiorella is always keeping me up at night. Her and John, they getting arrested. They getting tear gas. They getting kettled by cops. And they're gluttons for punishment, apparently, or they truly believe in what they're fighting for and what they're covering, which is probably more accurate. So can y'all give us the skinny? What happened out there in Portland?
So we went to Portland because we were at an event for Shud Batar, and so we were
in San Francisco.
in San Francisco. So we were already up there. So we heard what was going on in Portland for days from our friends in Seattle, because we also went to Seattle before. So we decided to go up there and check out what was happening. And we went in the first day with no goggles, with just our masks and nothing else. And we got tear gas pretty freaking quickly. And we noticed just how much of a war zone it was. Like how these feds were coming after the protesters, how the moms, the infamous moms were protecting the protesters that were trying to get kind of just show, like, whether it was graffiti or whether it was to actually get into the federal building where the feds were. There was this sort of like thing forming with the moms protecting them and other people protecting the protesters that previously had been grabbed by federal agents with no tags on them, and nobody knew where they were taking them. So that was a big thing. And we noticed right away that this wasn't like any other protest, in the sense that these Portland protesters were really prepared. I mean, they had self-made shields, they had the gas masks, they had helmets.
I mean, this is basically what Portland does all day, right? This exactly is their social gathering. Whenever the quarantine is over, this is basically what Portland will still be doing, because this is where they hang out, literally at protests.
Yeah, people were telling me it's a rite of passage to protest in Portland in general, but also that there's a lot of racism in Oregon, and we kind of noticed it a little bit. There was definitely a lot of white people in Oregon, and not that automatically means that it's racist, but like Oregon has a history of the white supremacy groups like the Proud Boys beginning their origin in there. And so we went in there and we just started documenting. Johnny was on the camera. Johnny saw a lot of things, and Pasta and I were commenting, and then we were walking around. And the following day, we met up with David Crow from the Bernie van, and David Crow started playing our show on the screen, which was really cool because a lot of people got to hear us who may have never heard us. And so Johnny was walking around, and the police started tear gassing. So what they do is they open the door of wherever they're at, the gate, they throw the tear gas, they shoot it out, they go back in, and so then they wait for people to run off, because the tear gas is so toxic that it really stops you in your tracks. So they did that, and we were close to the Bernie van, Pasta and I, with Pro and another journalist that we met. So we went in the Bernie van thinking, okay, at least it's going to be easier to avoid the gas because we're here. And it was just there was a hole somewhere that the window wasn't up all the
Fiorella,
way.
it's called the air conditioning. There's a whole ventilation system within the car. I don't know
Well,
if you
no,
know.
but the window also was like
Y'all, hold up.
halfway
Y'all
open.
had a bright idea to run into the van to protect yourselves and left the windows down, Fee?
It wasn't me.
Nah, dude, just gonna say, oh, wait. Well, me, I know you're saying.
We didn't notice, and so we were in there, and whatever, we closed it, and it wasn't that bad for a while, and then they started having more tear gas come in, and we just saw the feds outside. We were like, wow, the feds are here, blah blah blah. And
It's super weird that they keep appearing at night, right? Because that happened to you all as well. It seemed like
it was like at 12:37.
Yeah.
In the morning.
I gotta ask your opinion on this because unless you saw something different, every report that I've seen, every video that I've seen of that specific situation has been them appearing at night. And my thing is, it's not like the protests are only happening at night, especially not in Portland. It's not like if there is damage that is just specific to nighttime. Like there's not like a switch where people are like, okay, let's just fuck everything up now. It doesn't seem to be that way in Portland anyway. And it looks like you're just literally trying to get away with breaking the law, violating the Constitution, and violating people's First Amendment right to assemble, to protest, and for free speech. It's basically what it seems like. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, they shouldn't be there in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So while let me just note really quick, and I'll let Johnny say his piece. The Portland Police Department long had been engaging in the same tactics before the Department of Homeland Security, the feds, got there.
Of course.
So that is why the protesters were jeering at the mayor who showed up the other night, because he wasn't doing anything then, and he waited until it was a photo op opportunity and it was national news to actually go in and show up, but he wasn't doing anything prior to that, and it was still going on. Now the rally cries are feds go home, but that I don't think that means that the Portland people are going to stop protesting, because their whole intent was, of course, defunding the police and et cetera, et cetera. Unlike Seattle, which they have a set list of demands, I didn't see that in Portland, but what I did see was a lot of people with different opinions coming together and fighting against the feds, which is really interesting.
So like you mean from different political backgrounds?
Yeah, different tactics, because not everybody, there's the Black Lives Matter movement as a whole, like that people are doing, and then there's the Black Lives Matter organization and other organizations. Not all of them agree on tactics. Some people are strict pacifists. Some people want nonviolent protesting, and some people are all for like burn it down, violent protesting. And so there's different
Not that I
groups
can
of
disagree
people.
with that right now. I don't know if I would disagree with that last tactic at this juncture.
Right. So Johnny, what do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, so when we got there, we arrived without the proper equipment. We got tear gas. We got tear gas. There was this metal gate in front of the federal building, and once the protesters took that down, that's when they decided to tear gas everybody there. So when we arrived,
I do have a question. Why did the protesters decide to take that gate down, given just how violent we've seen the police behave lately? Did the feds had the feds already showed up at that point, and they saw them, or was it just they just were like, no, let's just take the barrier down?
when we first got there was I think it was around 9 or 10 p.m. So they must have been messing. The feds must have been in the building. They have like little holes that they can like look out of, and like they open the door sometimes, and maybe they'll laser, or they'll put the LRAD, or they'll put a flashbang or something. But they didn't start tear gas until they took the fence down. So I think the protesters just took the fence down just to take the fence down, just to say F the establishment and take the fence down.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think they were thinking of the consequences. I mean, it's obvious that the police are going to come out eventually. That's what's become the thing. It's almost a guarantee that the feds are going to gas you if you go late at night.
Yeah, there's literally nothing you could do. You could be as peaceful as you want to be. You could be violent. You can be walking down the street wearing black, apparently, not doing anything, leaving a protest, and you'll get what is it, preemptively arrested? Is that what they're calling it now?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, but even the mayor was gassed. I mean, it's something that happens, especially late at night. I've noticed a trend of it happening late at night. Like I'm talking about like close to 1 o'clock, 12
Yeah,
o'clock.
it was interesting. You were kind of talking about that. It almost seems like a tactic on purpose that the feds have put out. Like maybe it's like a fear tactic. Maybe it's like
it's in my opinion, it's tactic to avoid accountability, right? Because so if I'm a Fed. And you know, like you got like anonymous, the real anonymous out there, people who are actually pretty savvy with technology. If I'm a Fed, I can have my badge off and everything. But if I go there in the daytime, I could cover myself up to a certain degree, but somebody would be able to figure out who I am, right? Whether it's through voice recognition, whether it's through just having this part of your face, whether it's a former coworker that used to be there. It's basically, I need to be able to do whatever I want to in the cover of Nightfall, because that's what I saw here in Miami, except for like a week later when they're just said screw it, we're just going to tear gas everybody who shows up in broad daylight. But the first night of the protests here, my wife and I were walking down the street and literally everybody was being as peaceful as can be. I mean, I was kind of surprised at how peaceful everybody was being. People were screaming and protesting and stuff like that, but nobody advanced on the police officers, and the police officers actually were showing the same respect. Now, I bullshit you not, y'all. The moment that it got dark, all of the sudden, a car explodes. Just one. And it's the only car that had this happen, by the way. No other cars have been damaged throughout these protests, but this one car was a justification for they tear gas everybody at the protest. They did what is the thing they did? We have to be in the house at a certain time. Oh my God, I can't remember the word. Curfew. Thank you, Jesus Christ. They did a curfew immediately. They did, and they started trying to limit the protests. And the next day they used that, of course, as justification to go out immediately in the riot gear. But everybody was confused once again because there was no other situation like that. And it just so happened that it was in front of the police department. And if you ask me, speculatively speaking, I believe the cops did it themselves. The mayor had the damn curfew order ready like that immediately. It was boom, curfew order. Say what? That's not how it works. You can't violate my First Amendment rights just because one person that you haven't even you couldn't even find committed a violent act, one, and two, it's just super coincidental that this happens at night. And this is so we were almost back to my house because we were walking, and you just see cops out of nowhere start putting on riot gear and gas masks out of nowhere. We're like, what's going on? I don't understand. I was like, we got to get home. So I was like, because they're about to start popping off. Because it's like they just are dying to use these weapons, but they don't want to be held accountable for their actions because they know they're wrong.
Yeah. And the ACLU got involved now recently. Like, they can't go after people who are filming and journalists. And they, like, all the weapons that they're being used. We had a little video we filmed of like the type of weapon that the gases were. And it was intense. Like, it's military grade weapons being used on civilians. It looked like a literal war zone. And
military grade can't even be used by the military. Isn't that hilarious? But it can be used on us.
Yeah.
Some people experience tear gas here in LA, and it seemed like that the ones the feds used, it was like stronger. Like, it was stronger, like way stronger. Like, as soon as you get like a little bit on your face, like you're feeling it. Like, my face was still red. Like, my face was red. Like, around here where it wasn't covered, right? On the forehead and everything.
Those are toxic chemicals. I mean, leading up to possibly causing cancer. I mean, it's insane how bad they are. And I just want to know, the second day I was able to get goggles and better masks and like things from people from Portland who I had communicated with, because that's what they do there. They help each other get masks. They help each other get supplies. There's a whole little area where they have free supplies for people. There are people bringing in shields. There are people, I mean, these people are coming with like knee pads, elbow pads. I mean, it's kind of become this thing where you're going to battle the feds. And it's really interesting because I think they're enjoying it in a way.
Yeah, eventually it becomes exhilarating because you're in the right, so you have nothing to be upset about. I mean, my thing is, matter of fact, before I even get to that, let me ask you this. So the narrative has been, according to the Department of Homeland Security, which I know is probably BS, the narrative has been that they've been under siege for 47 days, the city of Portland, and that there's just violent acts from sun up to sundown. Now, obviously, y'all were there at sun up and sundown. Was it like a siege? Was there a lot of property damage? Was there a lot of violence? Were the protesters like running up on the cops and knocking them out? Like, because that's what the narrative has been coming out of Portland as far as the Department of Homeland Security and the MAGA weirdos are saying. But what is your take on that?
Yeah, the MAGA people like to call them criminals and stuff like that. But the thing we got to focus on is not the materialistic shit, right?
Yeah,
because it's all materialistic. They're not really. I think the worst I saw was that they try to light a tree on fire.
But someone already.
Oh, that's sad.
Someone put the fire out.
Yeah, they put the fire out.
They were arguing about it,
and you know, none of these protests are monoliths. You know, people have different opinions. I'm sure there are infiltrators in all these protests that try to stir up shit, but most people are there, just chanting, just facing the cops, just standing in front of the cops, just showing that they're there. Right? No one's really acting criminal at all.
So, so it's a lie, basically, is what you're saying. It's like a few one-off situations because it's funny because what do MAGA people always say whenever the Democrats say, oh, all of those MAGA people are racist. Well, no, not everybody's like that. Trump's voters are not a monolith.
It's just a few bad apples.
It's just a few bad apples, exactly. Except for they call themselves the silent majority, but that's a different discussion for a different day. Now, on the other side of that fence, you have the majority of protesters doing the right thing. And then you have a few agitators. And by the way, based off of all the film that has been coming out since the George Floyd murder, it looks like they're all cops, mostly, committing this nonsense. That's what it looks like. A lot of them, like the crazy damn, I mean, there were stuff being sprayed on doors and walls and stuff that didn't even make any sense. It was like it said, white people suck, we only like blacks. And I'm like, no black person would ever spray that anywhere. Ever. Like, clearly you're a narc. But like I said, there seems to be a lot of hypocrisy coming out of the MAGA crowd. And what happened to the whole 2A thing? What does it say? You have the right to bear arms and maintain a well-regulated militia. And the whole thing about to protect it against foreign governments and domestic ones. That's what I thought.
Constitution. Protect your freedom of speech. Protect your civil liberties. Where are all those people that are so pro states' rights when the national federal government is infringing on their rights? I mean, at the very least, you should be worried. And I just want to point out that, like Johnny said, the majority of the violence is property damage to the building. And by property damage, I don't even mean like anything more than graffiti. I mean, just the federal building is full of graffiti.
They basically sent feds out and they use literally a chemical weapon. You know, the same thing that we supposedly want to overthrow Assad over using on his people, but he actually turned out he wasn't even guilty of doing that, but our government is actually guilty of
home, Niko. That's what they did. That's all they did.
Bro.
And so I hope that this shows people what we do, a tenth of what we do, a fraction to other people, to innocent civilians in other countries. Because imagine if we treat our people like this, you can bet your ass we're treating other people from other countries much more horribly. We're literally bombing them, or others are bombing them with our weapons. We're talking about Saudi Arabia, Israel. I mean, it was really like telling, like how all this force that they bring in, and all for graffiti. It's graffiti. And let me point out, the soccer moms came that night, and then the nights before, and then after that the dads started showing up, and with leaf blowers too, because a leaf blower sends the gas back to the police because the gas spreads that way. So that's why they're using leaf blowers. And then the chefs came, the chefs with the chef jackets. They said show up, and so they're getting like certain groups of working people involved, which is a good idea. But there still isn't like a cohesive list of demands right now. It's just
in Portland, particularly.
Get the feds out. In Portland.
In Seattle,
I mean, I imagine at the top of that list for everybody now is like, yo, our people are being abducted. Let's get these people out first. And I know like before it was to fund the police. So like that basically seemed to be the objective of, well, ever since George Floyd's murder, that's what the main objective seems to be. And that's obviously an objective I get behind. But I want to ask you all about whether or not you think this could become a larger problem, because to me it looks like I feel like some people right now feel like they are on the right side of history by condemning the protesters and propping up literal mercenaries. That's what they're acting like. This is how Blackwater behaves. This is why Blackwater is no longer existent. Now, it also looks like Trump and the entire security state is trying their hardest to make it look like they have control, because I feel like there is some fear that they're losing control.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that if they flex their muscles at us, because that's basically what they're doing, if they flex their muscles at us hard enough, then it'll be like, okay, we'll get law and order back, which isn't really law and order. They just don't want us challenging them. That's basically what it is. But they're not calling the National Guard, which is kind of peculiar, right? Because I thought the National Guard was supposed to handle these situations, but I've been saying it's not going to work. National Guard poor, just like we are. They get paid a little $250 a month. You know, they ain't about to go out and kill nobody for no damn government. Okay, it's one. Two, they brought in these feds who are unaccountable, and they're basically saying the cops can't handle their business. So do you feel like this is going to be a larger problem? This is the tactic they're going to employ around the country? Go ahead.
I'd be interested to see if he deploys any of the feds in Republican mayors, or, you know, like governors, whatever states. Because it looks like he's purposely targeting Democratic ones, even though the Democrats are just as bad as the Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he's totally using it, like you say, as to increase his campaigning.
I think he's playing to his base, right?
Increase his base support, because they don't give a shit about what he does. They don't care about any of the constitutions. They're obviously ignorant, and they're just, you know, suckers for Trump, basically.
Yeah. Go ahead, Fee. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think this is cementing Donald Trump's like he already took the stance. He can't go back on it. Like when he went back on the mask thing, I think that makes him look weak. So he's not going to go back on this. He's going to stick to his guns when it comes to these protesters, because he wants to be that president that is like, you know, like bringing down these rambunctious, crazy socialist commies. But the Democrats are exploiting it by trying to like tell people to like, oh yeah, look what Trump's doing. Simultaneously, Nancy Pelosi is approving and funding every single thing that Donald Trump is doing. And we know that. Everything. So like, I think this is definitely going to spread because it's political now. Like now Trump is saying, oh, we're going to send troops to Chicago. And now they started sending a tactical team to Seattle and a lot of these places like Chicago itself and Wisconsin. Those are other places where they can send them to. And there's a lot of movement there for Black lives. I mean, you can even go to Atlanta and see what's going on there. That I think this is going to spread because they want to show that they have the power.
And it's funny that for the most part, outside of Portland, they're going to areas that are predominantly people of color, right?
Yeah.
And what I find what's scary, what should be scary to them, I should say, is y'all are crazy enough to go into Chicago. Y'all are stupid. That's not going to be Portland. That's not even going to be LA. Y'all wouldn't even go into South Central LA. Let's be clear about that. Police are like, we're going to keep them protest. We'll meet them in Beverly Hills. We'll meet them in Pasadena. We're not going to. So it's the same concept. They're pretending as if they're going there to rein in the crime. But to do that, you're going to have to go into South Side Chicago. And I just don't see that happening. Because if you do, they're not pulling up with leaf blowers in Southside Chicago. I'm telling you, it's just not gonna happen. They're averaging like a murder a day right now, and this is unfortunately kind of a thing in the summertime, just in Southside Chicago, which is like a well-known fact. So they're pretending as if the murder rate is going up higher than it's ever been, but unfortunately in the summertime in Southside Chicago, literally this happens every year. But Trump once again is using it as a campaign mechanism. And we're going to lose people if you go into Southside Chicago. And so I hope they don't do that. We got a super chat. Renston said, cops as agent provocateurs are the greatest bricklayers you could ever see. They can blame it on protesters when they get paid to disrupt crowds. Yeah, them bricks. All of a sudden, the bricks stopped popping up lately, huh? Remember when the bricks on the pallets were popping up out of nowhere?
Oh yeah.
Like, it was
in
super.
LA that happened.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it happened everywhere. It happened everywhere.
Really?
Everybody's like, "What? Who just lays bricks in the middle of the road? There's no construction going on around here."
Yeah,
And it was like the most weird type of brick. You could like bricks that people were using in the 1990s to build houses. Bruh. But that's what we're dealing with. So, what are y'all plans next? I know y'all probably going to another protest here pretty soon. What's going on?
Well, I mean, if they send the troops to like Chicago, if they send them elsewhere, you know, we'll definitely try to document it, because what we're trying to do is show what actually happens at the protests, and to show like majorly they're not violent. Like, these people are like moms and dads and freaking people of the community.
Yeah.
And you know, they're very protective of the protesters, because the protesters are being targeted. It happened in Seattle too, when we were like, you know, they weren't super trusting of the media, because a lot of the media has taken pictures of the protesters and turned around and gotten them in trouble. And so it took them time to like accept us. And in Oregon, they were, you know, we came kind of like knowing some people here and there too. And it was but they were still like protective of what was happening. And so I think what we're seeing here is it's going to continue to build. I think LA, for instance, needs to do a better job, because like there's really like the protests have really died down here a lot since they were majorly big, and people are still doing it.
Yeah.
But now it's turned into economics too. So we're going to be seeing people start protesting the economics, because as you know, Niko, the $600 are running out at the end of this month, and we still haven't gotten anything else from the government, and people are starting to freak out about their rents. The rent the eviction moratorium.
They're about to start running up into the banks now. It's about to get bigger. If they don't figure out a way to pass some more money and put it directly into the hands of the people, people have nothing else better to do right now. Y'all done close everything down. I mean, we might not have nothing to do for a while, because I ain't gonna lie to you. This little virus that y'all wanted to pay Pfizer $2 billion to make and give out for free, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's gonna take it. I haven't met a single person. They like, why would I do that? I'm not getting some medicine that this company
vaccine.
Yeah,
bro, they got So Pfizer, who's the second largest donor to the
Oh Jesus,
bro, second largest lobbying group over the last 20 years. Of course they got this contract. Of course they got it. They're the reason that Cuba just literally used interferon alpha B2 to cure the virus. They're fine. They're good. I live down the street from these people. We don't have access to it. And that's why, because Pfizer paid them all that money, and now they're getting their comeuppance. They only invested about $220 million. Well, not only, but they've invested about, on the pharmaceutical side, $220 million. And they got, $2 billion. So they're probably going to split it between them and another company. So it's like $1 billion. So you think they got a good return on their investment over 20 years? Absolutely. Absolutely. And people are going to be out in these streets until we have real solutions. I know everybody wants to get distracted by the mass talk. Both sides are getting it wrong. The protesters, seemingly, in my opinion, regardless of your approach, I'm not judging you, but the protesters seem to be the only ones getting it right.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's different, like, you know, I agree with you, Niko. I think a lot of people are past the whole let's just, you know, be peaceful. But I think the majority of the protesters are still trying to do that. The problem is, once you attack them, and then and it turns the cops, just their mere presence there incites them to be there more. Like, having the feds there incited even bigger protests than there were before. They were still having it, but it's made people be pissed off. Like, why the hell are you here? Get out of my city.
Yeah.
We don't need you. So it brings more people out. That's all it's going to do. And if the government continues doing that, sending all these feds and involving all these police. Yesterday, Johnny went to a protest in Beverly Hills, and they sent like how many? Like 50 cops?
Yeah, they sent like 50 cops for like 30 people.
It's insane.
That first night in Portland was around like 500 people. The second night we were there was around like 2,000 people. Like, there was thousands of people. I don't know if you saw the live stream.
Yeah, I was popping in and out, yeah.
When they did a march, when I was going solo dolo and covering their march, it was just thousands of people, and they were marching past the mural. That was the coolest part, when they were marching past the mural in silence, and they had their fists up. It was just thousands of people with their fists up. And then when they were on the steps of the Justice Center, which is the front of the police bureau, they did a thing where they had the lights on, and it was like a stadium. There was thousands of lights. It was thousands of lights. It was crazy. My only criticism of these protests is that they're not talking about UBI or Medicare for all. You know, you have the ear of thousands of people. Let's talk about that, along with Black justice, along with economic justice. You know.
Yeah,
only criticism. My only small criticism.
Yeah, I agree, but I kind of also understand why they wouldn't necessarily use those words, because if you think about it, they've become political buzzwords more than anything else. And then when you start getting into that type of politics, it can be a little bit more divisive. But I think everybody agrees that we can at least all band behind fascism and combating fascism. You know what I'm saying? So that might be why. But I agree there has to be an economic component, because even when you're dealing with the racial justice side, economics is a massive part of it. People are still not really, which is kind of weird that nobody really talks about redlining still. Like the history of redlining, literally the suburbs, the contractors were giving those contracts by the government under the stipulation that you cannot allow any black people to move in. Like, this was a government mandate, people. That's why the suburbs were, and still are for the most part, predominantly white all over the country. So that means you're talking about the, what does that also affect? Education. Why? Because everybody's public school is funded 93% by property taxes from your community that you live in. So if I had to live in a project and everybody else to the left and right of me had to live in a project, and we know that states aren't really doing a good job funding it, and who else would be funding your school if you aren't paying for it? It's coming from more state money if they choose to pay for that. So all this stuff is intertwined, and I agree that the demands should be specific, but I also believe that we probably should prioritize getting the fascists out first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so redlining is super important. I actually last night in Beverly Hills, I was there, and the residents were talking about, oh, you know, we need better education for these. You know, they were in support of the police, mostly all of the residents, and they're like, we need better education. And I'm like, well, you know, federally, our budget spends 60% of the budget on military and like less than 3% on education. But yeah, I can add redlining also. It's institutionalized from the federal government to put people of color into lesser schools.
This is how successful redlining has been for white supremacy. How do you think gentrification has been so rampant?
Right.
Imagine trying to gentrify Black Wall Street 20, 30, 40 years from its inception if it wasn't destroyed. You would never be able to get a damn Walmart in there. You would never be able to get, you know, a McDonald's in there unless it was approved and the manager was black, and the community would stipulate how you are able to come into their community, just like white communities do today. It's not like it's, you know, that's what they do. And so that's why gentrification is so successful, because of redlining. We're seeing basically it flipped on its this is the conclusion. Gentrification is the conclusion of redlining, and it is the final solution, if you will, to getting black people out of those areas. They made them live in poor areas where, quote unquote, nobody else wanted to live in, and then they flipped them. Basically, they flipped it, and the government and all the lobbyists and corporations are getting the profit off of their racist investment. And so all those issues really do have to be addressed. Really quick, tell everybody where they can find you. And Johnny, I know you got a new channel, so make sure you go ahead and plug that in too.
Okay, so you can find us on The Convo Couch at YouTube, Instagram, Facebook,
Twitter.
Myself, Twitter as well. And then myself is Fiorella_IM.
On Twitter.
And yeah. And
go ahead, Johnny. I'm going to read past the super chat.
Apart from producing the Convo Couch and being the cameraman and doing the graphics and making everyone look beautiful and running the whole company, he's also really humble. I also run another channel called True Rebel Network, where it's more on the ground, live shit, and it's all most of it is in 4K because I just got this new camera, so that's
quick little flex, real quick, and it's in 4K.
It's 4K, like really cool, like on the ground protest.
What kind of camera you get?
Panasonic GH5.
Nice. And Pasta had this to say. Thanks for the super chat, Pasta. Protesters need to fight back with balloons filled with paint or pig blood. But I like pig blood better than paint. Just tell them it's paint when it splatters on them. I bet the cops might not come back after that. Anyway,
oh, that's genius,
right? Pig blood. They're like, what's this? It's pig blood specifically, not regular blood. Pig blood. I know y'all vegans though.
You know Pasta's vegan now, right?
Yeah, I know Pasta's a vegan for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I heard.
Thank you.
And but he loves it. He's becoming one of those vegans, guys. He's telling me every day how awesome being a vegan is.
I know.
He's becoming one of them. We knew it was going to happen.
You just gotta see the slaughterhouse video, man. You just gotta watch all that footage. It's disgusting.
I've watched slaughterhouse video. I don't believe in slaughterhouses. I think it's kind of like it's a cop. I mean, I feel like the reason that we overconsume meat is because we take for granted the process of meat and of what it takes for it to get to our plate. And that's why we're kind of out of whack and out of balance in how much and what we overconsume. That's why we consume Monsanto garbage, because we have no idea how it got to our plating is literally causing cancer. That's a different discussion for a different day. Also, I want to let everybody know you can follow all of the MCSC broadcasts, videos, and articles from people like Robbie Yeager and Lucas Wagner, and a couple that I'll be putting out myself from time to time on at the independent.io/MCSC network. All of our content is there, as well as Rockfin, of course, rokfin.com. What do y'all do your Rockfin exclusive show?
We gotta redo them. We gotta start doing them again.
Okay.
We have a lot of old exclusive trivias that are really cool. If you've never seen them, go check them out.
They're fun.
We've had Kim Iverson, Ron, Niko.
Fiorella cheats, so let's just, before y'all see the outcomes.
He gets the answers before
God,
every trivia.
Definitely cheats, 100%. So go follow the Convo Couch on rockfin.com as well. The Convo or rockfin.com/the Convo Couch. Follow them on Twitter. Follow them on YouTube. They're going to continue to bring you that hard-hitting stuff that other indie journalists will not bring you because, well, I'll die. I have asthma. I'm not going to go into tear gas. And I'm black.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Remember how that dude got arrested for walking while wearing black? Imagine being black at night in Portland.
Well, all the white protesters, the allies, will keep you safe.
I hope so. I really do. I tried that. I tried that before. I did try that before. Cops threw not the protesters, but the white women on the ground. They literally threw them on the ground and then arrested my friend, then dislocated my shoulder after they were about to shoot me. So I'm gonna leave it up to y'all. Y'all keep holding it down.
Yeah, I was gonna say apart from yourself, I mean, you got asthma problems, but there's other commentators and other journalists who are not going out because they're scared. And it's scary. It's scary once the cops show up. If you're fine to go until the cops show up, then it's like, all right, you should be cautious and maybe dip out or just get a distance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if honestly, I'm the kind of person that if I didn't have asthma, like before my asthma days, I went to go to protests, I ain't really giving a damn about tear gas. I was about it. Now I don't want to die. I'm not trying to end up, man, look, the last time I had an asthma attack, I almost didn't make it. So that's, by the way, that just shows how dangerous this tear gas situation is. When people are literally afraid to go exercise their right to assemble, their right to protest, me as a journalist, my right to free press, I had to think about literally dying for doing my job.
Well, yeah.
And that's unacceptable in this place that used to be considered the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave. We still home of the brave. The freedom, debatable. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Says Sukasa. Go follow the Convo Couch. Get your ass out there and protest if you don't have asthma. Go fight for your rights, but always remember, more than anything else, people, find your balance. Peace. If you like that segment of Mikasa Says Sukasa, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button. Want access to members only live streams, behind the scenes footage, and other premium content? Well, you can endorse us on Rockfin Premium, become a patron through Patreon, or you can sign up for the MCSC Premium membership through YouTube. All the links are in the description below. But hey, more than anything else, always remember,
find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.
Peace.